Thanks for carving out some time with us, guys. Today I'm going to go over the basics of our new integration between InvGate and Zapier. If you're not already familiar with Zapier, basically it's a tool that allows thousands of different applications to integrate with each other by acting as a sort of middleware between all of them. And now that we're a member of that community, we can integrate with all of the other products in their library. For our initial integrations with Zapier apps, what we've done is develop a specific application for Zapier, which you can access by entering the link we've provided here. Once accessed, you can start configuring the integration and connect with really anything in the Zapier library. Here are just a few examples of the types of products you'll be able to connect with. Google Sheets, Gmail, and pretty much anything else in the G Suite. Instagram and other social media platforms, HubSpot and various other CRMs, Dropbox, Office 365, Jira, Zoom, ERP systems, really the list goes on and on. There are, literally thousands of other applications you'll be able to integrate with thanks to that Zapier platform. If you've got a specific one in mind, you can always search their library for free right from their website, and from there you can see if it's a part of the public community yet. If they're not listed already, you can always reach out directly to the vendor in question, and you could see if it might be available through a private invitation for the time being. Once you accept the invite from us, you can start creating your first Zap. And if you're wondering what that is, a Zap is simply what Zapier calls each of the specific integrations. So what we're going to do in this example today is basically just create an example of a Zap that you're welcome to try too. And in this case, it's going to be an integration between the InvGate service desk and Slack. Basically, what Zapier requires is for you to choose which applications we want to integrate together. So first, we'll choose InvGate, which should appear for you once you've received the invite. And then you'll have two types of actions from which you can subscribe so that InvGate is bound to a specific type of action. So the first action which we can subscribe to is a new request. And this means that when a new request is submitted into the service desk, this specific Zap will trigger a specific behavior. The other option, which is a little more complex, but it does give you some more flexibility, would be to subscribe to an InvGate service desk automated action. And in that case, if you're going with that method, then really any of the automation rules that you're building into the service desk can then be configured to execute a specific Zap when those conditions are met in the system, like a reply comes in with a certain phrase, or the priority changes from medium to high, or something along those lines. In this case, I have an automation in place, which is initiated by a new request. You'll notice we could alternately have selected a new reply, or a change in priority, or a category, etc. But back to this use case, when we have a new request and the help desk is detected as facilities level 1, I have an automation created for that. So what I'm going to do is associate my integration, or Zap, with that automation. So we hit continue. It asks which account of InvGate service we are integrating with. So we click on connect, and it will start to ask for some more specific data, an API username and password, which you can extract from the integrations area under API. Here you can also generate a new user. But in this case, I've already created a user and the URL. In this scenario, you'll have to paste the entire URL and then the API user and password. One critical component here is that you have to keep in mind the instance has to be exposed to the internet to allow for proper connectivity. So if you're running an on-premise install, you just need to ensure that the server it's running on has access to the internet. So we can enable our credentials, and we can test if the connection was successful. But Zapier will now fetch all of the automated actions that I've created. And in this case, it will bring the request for facilities that we created a little while ago. I can choose it, and we can run a test here. And that will allow sample variables to be used in the next action. So if I create a request, for example, in facilities, the priority is medium, put together some subject and body here to the request, we'll assign it directly to facilities. So that can trigger the action that we're wanting to call here. And now we have a new example that we can use. And this will bring me all of the information about that new request. So if I specifically use the example that we just submitted in the service desk, I will be able to use that as a sample here for the integration with Slack. So once the kind of service desk side of this is configured, we're now going to choose which application we want to integrate with. And in this case, we'll choose Slack. Now, the first step is to associate what exactly you want to happen once the service desk automation rule is triggered. In this case, I want a message to be sent to a specific Slack channel. So it's going to prompt me to integrate my Slack account with Zapier, which I've already done here. And then I'll choose the template or message that I want to send. In this case, I have a channel created called Zapier Demo in Slack. And here I can configure that template. I've created an example that says, customer with first name and last name has submitted a request, along with the title of the request and the link to it. And note, if I click on that, I'll have all of the variables of that request that I used in our test earlier. And this is an example, so we could see what that message will look like in Slack. And down here, we've got some additional options that Slack offers. Now, once we finish that setup, we can move forward and we can test the sending of the message, which we'll show here. Now, once that integration is complete, I can turn on the Zap, and with the Zapier basic plan, it will check every 15 minutes if that trigger was executed in the service desk, and when it finds anything that meets the conditions, it will send the Slack message to the channel that we have defined. So that's kind of a once-over there. We definitely invite you to go through the Zapier marketplace, look for any integrations that might be useful for your teams, and keep in mind, depending on the Zapier plan that you have, you'll be able to execute one or multiple actions and conditional rules, or even get into some really complex behaviors. But with their free plan, you'll be able to do a simple integration like the one we just did. And for more complex integrations, an upgraded plan may be required, but all of the capabilities and pricing for all the plans can be found on their website too. But we hope you're able to get a lot out of this, and if you have any success stories you'd like to share with us, we would love to hear about them, and maybe even share them with our customer community. All right. Thanks again for carving out time. Hopefully this was helpful for you.